Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Guru Maharaj, would you like to lead the Prema Dvani?
Maharaj will be right with us, but
You
Jayam
can.
Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Stotra Shata Shishima Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Stotra Shata Shishima Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada Ki Jai Namacharya Shula Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Ko Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shudvaita Garadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shyam Kund Radhakund Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai Samaveta Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glorious to assembled devotees, all glorious to assembled devotees, all glorious to assembled devotees. Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol.
Welcome everybody to Srimad Bhagavatam reading with His Holiness Jayādvaita Swami. It is Wednesday, October 29th, 2025, and we're beginning with 4:23:1. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, I'll begin. Or Guru Maharaj, would you like to begin actually?
You can start.
Okay. Matre uvacha Drishtvatmanam Pravayasam Kada Vanya Atmavan Atmana Vardita Shesha Svanu Sargaha Pajapiti Jagatas Tastusas Chapi Britido Dharma Brit Satam Nishpadite Svara Disho Yad Artam Iha Yagyivan Atmajas Atmajam Nyasya Virahad Rudatim Eva Rajasu Vimanas Eka Sadaro Gat Tapo Vanam. Translation. At the last stage of his life, when Maharaj Prithu saw himself getting old, that great soul, who was king of the world, divided whatever opulence he had accumulated amongst all kinds of living entities, moving and non-moving. He arranged pensions for everyone according to religious principles, and after executing the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in complete coordination with him, he dedicated his sons unto the earth, which was considered to be his daughter. Then Maharaj Prithu left the presence of his citizens, who were almost lamenting and crying from feeling separation from the king, and went to the forest alone with his wife to perform austerities. Purport. Maharaj Prithu was one of the Shaktivesh incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and as such he appeared on the surface of the earth to execute the orders of the Supreme. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Lord is the proprietor of all planets, and he is always anxious to see that in each and every planet, the living entities are happily living and executing their duties. As soon as there is some discrepancy in the execution of duties, the Lord appears on earth, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 4:7. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. Since there were so many discrepancies during the reign of King Vena, the Lord sent his most confidential devotee Maharaj Prithu to settle things. Therefore, after executing the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and settling the affairs of the world, Maharaj Prithu was ready to retire. He had been exemplary in his governmental administration, and now he was to become exemplary in his retirement. He divided all his property amongst his sons and appointed them to rule the world, and then he went to the forest with his wife. It is significant in this connection that it is said that Maharaj Prithu retired alone and at the same time took his wife with him. According to Vedic principles, when retiring from family life, one can take his wife with him. The husband and wife are considered to be one unit. Thus they can both combinedly perform austerities for liberation. This is the path that Maharaj Prithu, who was an exemplary character, followed, and this is also the way of Vedic civilization. One should not simply remain at home until the time of death, but should separate from family life at a timely moment and prepare himself to go back to Godhead. As a Shaktivesh incarnation of God, who had actually come from Vaikuntha as a representative of Krishna, Maharaj Prithu was certain to go back to Godhead. Nonetheless, in order to set the example in all ways, he also underwent severe austerities in the Tapovana. It appears that in those days there were many Tapovanas, or forests especially meant for retirement and the practice of austerities. Indeed, it was compulsory for everyone to go to the Tapovana to fully accept the shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. for it is very difficult to retire from family life and at the same time remain at home. Guru Maharaj and others, would you like to comment?
Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale. Ayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadhati Shapanati. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Guru Vaishnava. Shri Amshad Advaitam Savadvitam Say Krishna Chaitanya Dev. Shri Radha Krishna Padam Shri Vishakam Vitam. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Nukta Kamshani Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Krishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hare Vanshako Pitarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Pyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Gaura Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram. This is a significant line here. One should not simply remain at home until the time of death, but should separate from family life at a timely moment and prepare himself to go back to Godhead. That could be the, what would you say, the theme statement of my book on Vanaprastha life. One should not stay home till the end of life. One should separate from family life timely and get ready to go back to Godhead. Maharaj Prithu shows this by his practical example. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's paraphrases the thoughts of Maharaj. The Lord will not bring me to his side for service. I've not done that much worship and have not been fully purified. Taking Vanaprastha, going to the forest and engaging in chanting and remembering the Lord 24 hours a day, like our ancestor Dhruva, I will perform austerities to attain the Lord quickly. I will make the Vanaprastha ashram famous with the people. So with these thoughts in mind, Prithu Maharaj went to the forest. For austerity.
Guru Maharaj, would you or someone there like to take the next one?
There's some comment.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, there's a comment. Praveen Prabhu writes, the place in Nasik where Lakshman cut off the nose of Surpanaka is also called Tapovana, where Lord Ram spent his time in exile.
As Prabhupada comments, there were many Tapovans, many forests where retired people used to go. Now no one is going to go to the forest
but previously they would. Hare Krishna. Okay, let's see. Tatrapya dabhya niyamo laikanasa susammate arabdha ugra tapasi itasva vijaye pura. After retiring from family life, Maharaj Prithu strictly followed the regulation of retired life and underwent severe austerities in the forest. He engaged in these activities as seriously as he had formerly engaged in leading the government and conquering everyone. Purport. As it is necessary for one to become very active in family life, similarly, after retirement from family life, it is necessary to control the mind and senses. This is possible when one engages himself fully in the devotional service of the Lord. Actually, the whole purpose of the Vedic system, the Vedic social order, is to enable one to ultimately return home, back to Godhead. The Grihastha ashram is a sort of concession, combining sense gratification with a regulative life. It is to enable one to easily retire in the middle of life and engage fully in austerities in order to transcend material sense gratification once and for all. Therefore, the vanaprastha stage of life, tapasya, or austerity, is strongly recommended. So here's the point. The various, well, people may not like this characterization of family life as a concession for sense gratification, but here and in other places, Srila Prabhupada describes it exactly that way, as a concession. All right, more sense gratification, along with a regulated life or devotional service. And the purpose is so that in the middle of life, one can retire, not the end of life. If we live 100 years, then the vanaprastha ashram should be accepted at 50. Maharaj Prithu followed exactly all the rules of vanaprastha life, which is technically known as Vaikanas ashram. The word Vaikanas tu samate is significant because in vanaprastha life, the regulative principles are also to be strictly followed. In other words, Maharaj Prithu was an ideal character in every sphere of life. Mahajana yena gata sapanta. One should follow in the footsteps of great personalities. Thus, by following the exemplary character of Maharaj Prithu, one can become perfect in all respects while living this life or while retiring from active life. Thus, after giving up this body, one can become liberated and go back to Godhead. The Maharaj Prithu was serious in his householder life as a king at the head of the state, and equally serious when he retired. It's not that retirement just means doing nothing or, yes, becoming weak, but it's serious business to take up. Government service is serious. And to give up government service is also serious. To take up whatever occupation one may assume for supporting a family and to manage household affairs, that's serious responsibility. And to give up family life is another serious responsibility. So Maharaj took this up. Vaikanas is one division of family of retired life, or it's also a term for retired life in general. So it becomes synonymous with Vanaprastha. The Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, just as Prithu performed karmas in household life to show karmis how to act, as a Vanaprastha, he performed austerities to show the Vanaprasthas how to act. He engaged in severe austerities as approved by the Vaikanas, Vanaprasthas. He was strict in his vows. Adabhya niyama. Adabhya, not deceptive, comes from the root dab, to deceive. He did this with the same effort that he conquered the earth.
We have something from Murari Gupta Prabhu. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Medical needs in old age don't seem to come up much in Srimad Bhagavatam. How seriously should we take them as we get older and put ourselves in more austere circumstances?
Well, of course, that will be a question. There comes a point where medical help doesn't help us anymore, where it just puts us into greater difficulty, where it just prolongs our existence, but doesn't afford us much in the way of a real life, where we're only struggling to live, even though there's not much we can do while staying alive. But we don't see that in the life of Maharaj Prithu, of course. It's a different age, a different way of living, but just to search for another medicine, so that we can go on living is not much in tune with the Vedic way of life. At a certain point, all right, I'm going to die, let me die. Let me get on with it and not try to fight against the divinely powered form of the Lord as death. Mrityu sarvaharascha. Krishna comes as death and takes everything away. All right, let me go. Hare Krishna.
We have some Murari Gupta Prabhu writes. Thank you.
Later in this pastime, it'll be said that when Prithu Maharaj saw death approaching, he became jubilant. Okay, next program. Yes, Hare Krishna.
Praveen Prabhu writes, argument. Not everyone can leave home at an advanced stage. One simply continues his 16 rounds and follows 4 regs at the comfort of home and some small preaching among relatives, friends. At the end of life, leave the body at home in the midst of good devotee friends doing kirtan for you. Life is still successful and one can go back home, back to Godhead.
All right, but that's not the recommended program. The recommended program is to leave family life. If for one reason, but the argument is one can't leave. Why not? Why not? If one is prepared oneself, which one should definitely leave. All right, in the event that one can't leave, one can chant Hare Krishna and die surrounded by kirtan. And who am I to say, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. If you do, you will not go back to Godhead. But the recommendation is that one should leave family life timely. Hare Krishna.
Saraswati Mataji, can you take the chat?
Yes.
Thanks. Guru Maharaj, do you have anybody there for the next text? Let's see, we just read text 4. So
Shamsundu or
Either way.
either way.
Kandamula palahara shushka parnashana kvichit abhaksha katichit pakshan vayubhaksha stata param. In the Tapovana, Maharaj Prithu sometimes ate the trunks and roots of trees. Sometimes he ate fruit and dried leaves. And for some weeks, he drank only water. Finally, he lived simply by breathing air. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita, yogis are advised to go to a secluded place in the forest and live alone in a sanctified spot there. By Prithu Maharaj's behavior, we can understand that when he went to the forest, he did not eat any cooked food sent from the city by some devotees or disciples. As soon as one takes a vow to live in the forest, he must simply eat roots, tree trunks, fruits, dried leaves, or whatever nature provides in that way. Prithu Maharaj strictly adopted these principles for living in the forest, and sometimes he ate nothing but dried leaves and drank nothing but a little water. Sometimes he lived on nothing but air, and sometimes he ate some fruit from the trees. In this way, he lived in the forest and underwent severe austerity, especially in regards to eating. In other words, overeating is not at all recommended for one who wants to progress in spiritual life. Sri Rupa Goswami also warns that too much eating and too much endeavor, atyahara prayasasya, are against the principles by which one can advance in spiritual life. Maybe we'll take a quick pause. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Buddhadasa Jayādvaita Swami Namne. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namne. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Desha Dharini. In Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary that you just cited, he acknowledges that his predecessor Dhruva Maharaj achieved success in this way. So why not follow in his footsteps? And I was just reminded of I was with a Kinshana Krishna Prabhu one time, and he was commenting that Dhruva Maharaj was eating dried leaves, and Srila Prabhupada, I forget if it's a purport or a verse, he writes somewhere, and no salt. And a Kinshana Krishna Prabhu, he was laughing. He said, it's austere enough dried leaves with salt, but it's particularly noted. He didn't even have any salt. There's nothing even to spice up the dried leaves. You're just taking what's available in the forest. And so you had mentioned the stages of Vanaprastha, starting with Vaikhanasa, Audambara, and so on. But in the final stages, you're just eating fruits that have fallen from the trees. And so maybe it's a question for me, but it does mention that he's taking them from the trees and not when they're fallen. So maybe those 4 stages are not so important, or I'm just curious your thoughts, Guru Maharaj, about those stages.
Well, it's notable, first of all, that Vanaprastha life is divided into stages, and when the description is there, it's largely about eating. Not so much about other things, but how does one eat? Because eating is a central activity for our life, and it's also a central activity for austerity. Can't really perform severe austerities while you're having a banquet every night. Austerity largely has to do with what you eat. It's notable here what Rupa Goswami said. Too much eating and too much endeavor. Atyahara priyasascha, we're warned against those. Therefore, I should be eating less. In retired life, this is one of the things, or in old age generally, eat less. Atyahara means too much eating. Too much eating. And it's, well, anyway. But to go to your question, we're not going to live like this. We're not going to go to the forest and just eat tree leaves with or without salt. We're called upon to perform austerity, but not to try to imitate Dumarj and find some forest somewhere. Sometimes eat, sometimes live on air, sometimes eat dried leaves, but not to curtail our eating, to control and to eat less.
When you mentioned that, Guru Maharaj, it reminded me of Atashi Krishna Nama, the Sebon Mukhe Hijipada, the service beginning with the tongue and on both sides, vibrating and eating. It is essential. Jiva Vegam, it's essential in so many of our teachings. And so, although we may not go to the forest, there's certain aspects of it that we can follow.
Yeah, Mahaprabhu's movement, we're encouraged to feast and eat and so on. But here we find that in old age and retirement, we should eat less.
Shall I continue?
I have a quick question. Eating is the purport for nectar of instruction. Prabhupada goes quite in depth on eating. One thing he said, which I found interesting, you can control the urge of the tongue, you can control all the other senses. And I understand, how it works with the body. If you eat regulated, it's easier to control your belly and your belly. How does it help with controlling speech and the mind and anger?
Karma jivati logomoy sudurmati. It's difficult to control the tongue. The desire to eat more. If we can do that, then we can control the other senses. Then we can control if we can't control the tongue, how much control do we have? Tongue is demanding more. And if we can't say no, if we can't master that urge to eat, how will we master the other urges? And on the other hand, if we can master that very strong demand, then we can control the other urges also.
When you say that, Guru Maharaj, I think further down in the prayer, the Borodoyamoy, the big mercy of the Lord is his prasad. And I was thinking about Prithamaraj, maybe this is a really silly question, but it seems to me obviously that he's not offering these dried leaves first, but his whole life is an act of service. So whatever little bit of eating he's doing, is it basically for the purpose of keeping body and soul together? It's not something that's being directly offered to any form of the Lord or mental offering. His life's about Krishna consciousness, so whatever he's eating is just. Does that make sense? It's not a very opulent offering. You're clearly not setting up leaves because you want the Lord to enjoy the offering.
That's clear. This is his, as you said, some minimal something to maintain the body. All right, I'll take some leaves. He's really cutting it. Again, we can't do this.
All right, continuing with the purport. It is also notable that according to Vedic injunction, to live in the forest is to live in the mode of complete goodness, whereas to live in the city is to live in the mode of passion. And to live in a brothel or drinking house is to live in the mode of ignorance. However, to live in a temple is to live in Vaikuntha, which is transcendental to all the modes of material nature. This Krishna consciousness movement affords one the opportunity to live in the temple of the Lord, which is as good as Vaikuntha. Consequently, a Krishna conscious person does not need to go to the forest and artificially try to imitate Maharaj Prithu or the great sages and munis who used to live in the forest. Srila Rupa Goswami, after retiring from his minister's seat in the government, went to Vrindavan and lived beneath a tree like Maharaj Prithu. Since then, many people have gone to Vrindavan to imitate Rupa Goswami's behavior. Instead of advancing in spiritual life, many have fallen into material habits and even in Vrindavan have become victims of illicit sex, gambling, and intoxication. The Krishna consciousness movement has been introduced in the Western countries, but it is not possible for Westerners to go to the forest and practice the severe austerities which were ideally practiced by Prithu Maharaj or Rupa Goswami. However, Westerners or anyone else can follow in the footsteps of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur by living in a temple, which is transcendental to residence in a forest, and to vow to accept Krishna Prasad and nothing else, follow the regulative principles, and chant 16 rounds daily of the Hare Krishna mantra. In this way, one's spiritual life will never be disturbed. This is Mathura Vas, one of the 5 key elements. And Srila Prabhupada is saying that transcendental to the modes of nature is residing in the temple. The spiritual movement takes precedence. This is exemplified for me visiting here in New York City. It's quite the place. Foul smells and passionate energy and cars honking their guts out. And even during this class, multiple times, the whole building shakes because of the subway running by. So it's quite a passionate and tamasic environment. And yet the preaching movement is going on. Ram Roy Prabhu and devotees are going out on Harinam in the subway. Books are going out. We're hearing a book score every morning. And the deities, Radha Govinda, are being worshipped. And it's a sanctuary, a transcendental oasis. What do you call that? When there's a piece of another government in your country. Anyway, a piece of Vaikuntha and a piece of Goloka Vrindavan within the material world. So living in the temple, transcendental to the modes of material nature, and affords one the opportunity to achieve the same success as Prithu Maharaj without the severe austerities that Srila Prabhupada Maharaj had mentioned right before I read it, that it's not possible for us. So we have this, I was going to say concession, but it's not even really a concession. It's the same opportunity or even greater opportunity. It's come to us, especially in this time of Kali Yuga. We have this opportunity to chant and reside in a temple and give that Krishna consciousness to others who are similarly incapable of severe austerities. So what a blessing.
This is practical. Our Vrindavan Chandrapur, who left this world this year, did that. He had a successful professional life, and then he retired by moving into the temple. And for the rest of his life, he served the deities, served the Krishna consciousness movement, living in the temple. So this is not just theoretical. One can do this rather than make a show of living in the forest or living in Radhakund, imitating Prithu Maharaj or Srila Rupa Goswami. One can retire and live in the Hare Krishna temple and serve. Yes. In many places, Srila Prabhupada directly deprecates going off to a holy place, going off to a secluded place and pretending, as he would say, to execute activities of Krishna consciousness, making a show. Better to live in the temple or in some other way, practically execute the affairs of Krishna consciousness in a way that can actually do. Hare Krishna.
I heard it said, Maharaj, of Srila Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, that he's pointed out that out of humility, Srila Prabhupada went to Vrindavan in his final days. And he wanted to demonstrate that Srila Prabhupada brought Vrindavan here and intentionally left in a temple in America. I heard it said of him that he wanted to promote the glories of Srila Prabhupada bringing Vrindavan around the world. So the temple is just as good.
Yeah, the temple is transcendental. What is not recommended to stay home? Hare Krishna.
We're on text 6. Would Shyam Sindhu Prabhuji be able to read text 6?
Hare Krishna, okay. Krishna Pancha Tapapiro Varshas Vashara Sanmuni Akanta Magna Shishire Udake Standile Saya. Translation: following the principles of forest living and the footsteps of the great sages and munis, Prithu Maharaj accepted 5 kinds of heating processes during the summer season, exposed himself to torrents of rain in the rainy season, and in the winter stood in water up to his neck. He also used to simply lie down on the floor to sleep. Purport: these are some of the austerities executed by the Jnanis and Yogis who cannot accept the process of Bhakti Yoga. They must undergo such severe types of austerity in order to become purified from material contamination. Panchatapaha refers to 5 kinds of heating processes. One is enjoined to sit within a circle of fire, with flames blazing from 4 sides and the sun blazing directly overhead. This is one kind of panchatapaha, recommended for austerity. Similarly, in the rainy season, one is enjoined to expose himself to torrents of rain, and in winter to sit in cold water up to the neck. As far as bedding is concerned, the ascetic should be content with simply lying on the floor. The purpose for undergoing such severe austerities is to become a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, as explained in the next verse.
Yeah. No comment.
That seems like a quick way to kill yourself.
No. They could withstand this. Tolerated, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, tolerated the showers. It wasn't suicide. All right, I'll live in water up to the neck. I'll tolerate fire in 5 directions. It wasn't to die. They could withstand, but now who can do that? Who can undergo such severe austerity? For us, it would be death just to think about it practically. But he could do it.
Yeah, winter time, water to the neck. I feel like just one such bath without a home to retire to and warm up, and with a space heater and the thermos, like it just would be
Yeah, as soon as it's cold, it's like, it's cold. Where's there a heater? Don't close the door, there's a draft. We can barely tolerate a little draft, what to speak of immersing ourselves in water up to the neck. So therefore we can't imitate these things. But the spirit of tolerating material inconvenience and being engaged in the service of Krishna fully, that we can do.
And I find it, maybe if you have a comment on this, the first line of the purport I found particularly poignant, that we're talking about how we can't do those things, and Srila Prabhupada says they can't do bhakti yoga. These people who are capable of sitting in cold water up to their necks and punch at the Baha heat, but they can't do bhakti yoga, so this is their concession.
Not their concession, but before they can come to bhakti yoga, this is what they have to do first. If they could directly take up bhakti yoga, that would be better. But somehow they're not able to do that. All right, then perform austerity. Tapo divyam putrakaye sattvam isma sujayet pamasokyam tamam. Yes, take up austerity. For the bhakti yogi, don't bother with austerity. Of course, even bhakti yogi may take up a life of serious austerity. But the idea is that for the jnani and karmi, it's completely necessary, because otherwise, how will he come to a higher stage? What will he do? He's not going to do devotional service. How will he be purified? All right, do tapasya. But for the devotee, then you'll later Prabhupada cite tapasa tatakim. One is Krishna conscious. One is
Aradhito yadi haris tapasa. Naradhito antar bahir nantar bahir.
Yes, if one can remember Krishna always, what is the need of austerity? And if one's doesn't become Krishna conscious, what's the use of austerity? Hare Krishna.
Rinpoche Guru Maharaj, I have a question. I heard from a local class about how the Gyanis and the Yogis, they are situated on the Sattva Gun, not the Shuddha Sattva Gun, and they're still striving for liberation, but I don't understand how they could even achieve merging into the Brahma Jyoti if they're still situated on the Sattva Gun. I'm really confused about this.
No, they're maybe in Sattva-gun, but they're trying to transcend Sattva-gun. And if they attain transcendence, then in general, it's the impersonal feature that they're looking to achieve. Not that because they're in Sattva-gun, they have to stay in Sattva-gun, but they're in Sattva-gun, and all right, they'll try to achieve transcendence. Hare Krishna.
But Maharaj, would they still need to have bhakti in order to even get to the Brahma Jyoti?
There has to be some bhakti even for karma. Some bhakti has to be there for it to be karma yoga. Some bhakti has to be there. But our goal is anyabhilasha shunya jnana karma jnana. Go beyond jnana and karma and make them zero. And Krishna and simply act favorably for the service of Krishna.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj. Text 7 is very long. Should we start our closing kirtan a little earlier?
Well, let's see. Give me one moment. It is a long purport. Well,
We have 8 minutes.
yes, we do. Let me start. Titikshur Yatavagdanta Urdvareta Jadanilaha Arirad Tayashu Krishnam Acharat Tapa Uttama. Raj Prithu underwent all these severe austerities in order to control his words and his senses, to refrain from discharging his demons, to control the life air within his body. All this he did for the satisfaction of Krishna. He had no other purpose. Purport. In Kali Yuga, the following is recommended. Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Nama Iva Kevala. Kalo Nasjeva, 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 Gatir Nita. In order to be recognized by Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one should chant the holy name of the Lord continuously, 24 hours a day. Unfortunate persons who cannot accept this formula prefer to execute some type of pseudo-meditation without accepting the other processes for austerity. The fact is, however, that one must accept either the severe method of austerity described above to become purified, or take to the process of devotional service for pleasing the Supreme Lord. Person who is Krishna conscious is most intelligent, because in Kali Yuga it is not at all possible to undergo such severe austerities. We need only follow great personalities like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In his Shikshastik, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wrote, Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. All glories to the holy names of Krishna, which from the very beginning purify the heart and liberate one. Of a Mahadavagni Nirvapana. If the real purpose of all yoga is to please Lord Krishna, then the simple bhakti yoga system recommended for this age is sufficient. It is necessary, however, to engage constantly in the service of the Lord. Hare Nam Eva Keval. We can stop here and pick up next time with this same verse and pick up the purport from here. Hare Krishna.
Guru Maharaj, can somebody there lead the closing kirtan?
Yes.
I don't know. I can play it out. I don't know if there's cartels there also. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Jayādvaita Gadadhar Shri Vashadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Sham Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Navadip Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Ki Jai, Gangamai Ki Jai, Jamunamai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Prem Nande.
Thank you to all the Vaishnavas for joining our class. Holiness Jayādvaita Maharaj Shri Ki Jai.
To Prabhupada Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande. And tomorrow we're back onto Chaitanya Charitamrita. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.